Well, I'm finally eating my first meal of the month. A week into the month, since I've had my check, I've gotten my check on the 29th, the 28th or 29th. And I'm finally eating my first good meal. Well, not really. I forgot about the other one, the chicken. The rotisserie chicken with the red and green bell pepper and rice. So, it's my second one. But off this check, off this amount of money, I've already spent $200. $100 for gas. They made me overcook my broccoli in the microwave. I'll be so glad when I'm able to cook in my own home. For my son Brandon and I. I got Velveeta cheese, butter, like a month-old butter, Blue Bonnet butter that's a month old in a hot car. My fake Velveeta cheese. Potatoes are still good. I took the skin off, most of it. I might eat again tomorrow. I'll probably make my noodles, my chicken teriyaki noodles with some onion, onion, carrots, garlic, ginger, so I could get rid of my carrots before they go bad. So I might prepare them tonight. I'll probably go back to Walmart and get my noodles. I might not even take a shower tonight. I might wait till tomorrow night. Because I got to make up for all this money they made me waste. I returned my iced tea, my Lipton Brisk iced tea. I just passed gas. I can't wait to fucking cook, man. When I finally have money to buy what I want and to cook my home cooked food. That I've been dying to cook since I was on my own, that I couldn't afford to buy because I had to pay every single penny to rent. And to eat my ice cream and then live off of donuts when I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know how I survived this long eating as I have. I don't. I really don't. Well, I really didn't. I really didn't. When I was 16, 17 years old, actually about 17 to 18 years old, 17 years old, I started getting ulcers in my stomach. Very painful. I had to go to the hospital. St. Vincent's Hospital in Bridgeport, Connecticut, on the North End. My mommy didn't feed me. After they kicked me out of foster home, me and my sister. I was 14 going on 15. And my sister was like 13 going on, well, she had just turned 13 going on 14. And our mother rejected us and abandoned us and neglected us. We would try to stay upstairs in her apartment that God gave her for us to come home to. She chose to go with the revenge and the vengeance and the retaliation against me and my sister for blaming us that she lost her children, her son, to foster home and adoption, her 2 sons. It was her fault for not having a brain of her own and not getting pregnant, and she got pregnant by some deadbeat idiot. Not my fault. When she came to visit us in the DCF office downtown Bridgeport, and I noticed how my mom her tummy was showing. She had like a little bump. Now, my mom was always skinny, except for when she was pregnant. And I noticed, and I was like 13. Me and my little chunky self. I got pictures, but they're at my son's father's, which I've got to get. I'm full, see? Okay, I'm gonna start. Okay. That sign used to read 89 cents. The potatoes are a little bit mushy. And I don't have enough butter. I used a little bit of my butter from what I had left in the baggie from the last package. But I got to rinse out one of the bowls I'm eating out of to put my other package of butter in before it melts in the package. Then I got to clean up the back seat and the front seat. I like the red potatoes, but roasted. I don't really like them they're alright microwaved, but they're mushy because they're old. So they're not really like fresh. They're not rotten or anything. The skin was, I peeled it off though. So they taste alright, no bad taste. They're just mushy. I steamed them in the microwave for a couple minutes with some water and a little bit of water in the thing. I rinsed them. They're not bad. That one wasn't mushy. Well, a little bit. But I only like red or golden potatoes when they're roasted with the meat. With the carrots, potatoes, onion, celery, garlic. Oh my god. Squash. I miss my squash. Oh my god. I had it once. No, twice. When I was younger, I had it once. When my aunt's husband, Uncle James, cooked the Thanksgiving dinner. He was awesome. My aunt don't know how to cook. My mom, she don't know how to cook. All she knows how to do is suck dick. Like the rest of you no good rotten people. Sorry. Another video. I'd rather die. I'm so fat right now. I look like I'm 7 months pregnant. 6 to 7 months pregnant. Without a baby in my stomach. Because I don't have... God's showing me that there's a woman out here that resembles an actress. But she's really skinny and her body's worn down. But not the actress. But it's a normal person. But, yeah. But, God is speaking to me, saying that could be me. No, because I would do something to make you kill me, or I'd kill myself after I do what I was going to do. I wouldn't I wouldn't harm my body because I know I'm supposed to take care of it. See, when someone's equipped with the Holy Spirit from birth and they never lost it like other people, see, the 99.99999% of you have lost your Holy Spirit since you were born because you're family. And depending, some people lost it at different times because they turned into the worldly people. You conformed. I conformed, but not all the way. I went I don't want to say the right route, because even working 3 jobs wasn't the right route. And see, what God was looking for throughout these past generations is someone to do their homework, research, and study. But y'all are all doing all the wrong kind of homework, research, and study. And you're just adding to the problems. You're not making them better. You're making your life better, and maybe some, but you're not doing it correctly or properly. And that's what God has brought me up for. Excuse me. Because all of you have squashed me down. But see, God brings up the underdog. And I'm not trying to be arrogant or brag or boast. No, I'm not that kind of person. I'm explaining what God is looking for. You can jump aboard the bandwagon of lies, deceit, betrayal, and it's going to only overtake you. I overcooked some of the broccoli. It's still dark green because it's fresh. I just cooked it today. I bought it and cooked it today. Usually, it takes me like 3 days to cook it. But the stalk of broccoli kind of got a little mushy. Like, not the green part, but not the tree part, but the stalk of it. Central U.S. faces tornadoes and flood. Oh boy. What God is doing, he's getting his kingdom ready for his new world order. He's taking his kingdom back from the devil. It's no longer going to be the devil's kingdom, which was what I'm talking about, the people that conformed to the flesh. And all it did was invade itself. You are all invading yourselves and each other. Hence the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I saw that movie, I didn't even see all of it. I saw bits and part of it when I was about 7. I believe it was on Tom Thumb Street. It might have been early. It might have been in one of my aunt's apartments before I turned 7. Because we lived with my aunt most of the time, because she was the one that was more stable. But she had quite a few apartments herself. Because she didn't know how to budget or control her spending. And that was even with my Uncle James working under the table, making a good penny. But they almost got in trouble for that. I was going to wash my car today. But I'm tired of God putting people in my path. I don't want to be bothered. I'm not the answer to everyone's problems. I don't have enough money to take care of me. I'm eating when I really can't afford to eat. I don't get food stamps anymore. It's been a year. It's been a year that I have not gotten food stamps. Why? Because the devil was trying to take me out and eliminate me. to press me and trying to make me do something bad. No. You ain't gonna catch me in no trap and snare like you did my uncle, or like you did my mommy and daddy, and my sister and everybody else. No. I'd rather suffer for doing the right thing, but it's not the right thing I'm suffering for. I'm suffering because of people doing the wrong things to me. Because they're angry at themselves, but taking it out on me because I saw through them and the lies, and not so much them and the lies, but I saw the errors and mistakes. Why? I used my brain. I was quiet. I reserved. I took mental notes of what I was seeing, what I was going through with my mummy, and not having a daddy present, but behind the scenes playing devil, Darth Vader, puppet master, troublemaker with my life. I knew, with all the clues that people were leaving me throughout my childhood. I was listening. I caught on. See, God didn't think I caught on to every piece of information that He left, that He had other people pass on, just by being in my presence or conversing with my mom, or when my mom left me with other people and I overheard conversations. And if I was in another room, they kind of spoke up a little bit louder to where I would overhear. They didn't think, they knew I was going to hear it. See, you don't understand how God works to reach out to His children that are in the hands of the devil's kingdom, and the people, the heathens, hellions, minions, and demons. Who are they? They're the Antichrist. Those that chose to follow the flesh and not use and apply any thinking and thought process, let alone they didn't even know what thinking and thought process was, nor how to use and apply it. Nor did they know what to use and apply it to. Because they didn't know. You know how, I don't know if your teachers told you, but mine did. In an indirect manner. You know, while they're teaching, explaining the subject the lesson that we were learning for the week or the month or whatever. And they would throw in different clues that would remind us later on in life. Then words would come back. And we'd say, ah. But see, I picked up on them back then. God didn't know I did. Because my path, my life kept going quickly from scene to scene to scene. God didn't give me a chance to let Him know I knew, because I was busy trying to put the pieces together. I didn't know I had to speak up to God, to pray. I didn't know any of that. And I didn't learn that until I kind of learned that before I went to foster home. I'm trying to think. Or was it after I went to foster home? I think it was actually when I was 9 years old. One of the times my child molester was molesting me. And should I say this, God? Should I let it out? Should I let it all out? He's talking to me. Let it all out. Okay. It's not going to do me any good to hold it in. And He put me through all this to bring it forth to the people, to help them get out of their messes, so they have the understanding they need to back up God's Word. Which God's Word doesn't need any backup, because it speaks for itself. But the problem is people don't read it to understand it. They read it, but they don't understand what they read. Or they misunderstand what they read because they're not of the Spirit. Kind of like what my son's daddy did to my son when he was two and a half. When my son stuck up for me, and his daddy spanked the shit out of him on both his butt cheeks, and it crushed me. It crushed me. I wanted to kill my son's daddy. I wanted to kill him. God knows, I wanted to, for doing what he did to my son. Then in 2004, when I left to Connecticut and went to Connecticut in 2000, it was Christmas of 2004. And when my daddy and his girlfriend kind of indirectly made me leave their place because I snitched on my daddy back in 99 before I left Florida. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's another scene that God is playing out. A son and a father, on the heavy side, representing my son and his father. It's all good. I kind of went all over the place right now. I switched from explaining what I was first explaining to using a different example instead of using myself. When I was speaking about my child molester, when I figured out that I was supposed to pray to God, to talk to God, to let him know what I understand, what I don't understand, what I need help in understanding, and if I'm on his track. Hey Mary Tracy, hey. Beretta, hey. Hello everybody. So anyway, I'm eating my food, but I'm full because I had ice cream and I drank a whole cup of soda, and that's it. But my stomach is so small because I don't eat half the time, and when I do, it's only ice cream, and I have to take another poopy too. But I'm eating my red potatoes without the skin because the skin was I microwaved them in the store. I gave them $1 for microwaving about 4 minutes. I put butter, 4-week-old butter, in a hot car, and my Velveeta cheese with broccoli and potato. That's my food for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to maybe get another small broccoli, a stalk of broccoli, and use my carrots to eat with my teriyaki noodles, which means I have to buy some kind of teriyaki sauce. But anyway, let me stop getting off track. I was talking about what God is trying to do to his people to bring it's from the ice cream. I took one allergy pill, but it's not enough to fight off the germs and bacteria that go into my body every time I eat or drink something, because they poison me. So anyway, I was talking about how God's speaking to his children, but not many people are paying attention because they're not born of the Holy Spirit, or they are born of the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit, it doesn't leave them, it goes to sleep. It's like, do you remember a time in your childhood or even adulthood when you had a very frightening experience and it kind of like scared the life from within you? Well, that's kind of like what happens to a child when they get spanked the hell out of. And I mean, my son's daddy, 300 pounds at the time, 6 foot, his hands were like the size of a monster, and both my son's 2.5-year-old butt cheeks, the whole surface of both his butt cheeks. I'm not talking about little purple. I'm not talking about a little bit black and blue. I'm talking about completely a dark, dark purple. And if you would have heard the sound, the force that went into those spankings that my son's daddy did to my son for sticking up for me because his father disrespected me. At son stuck up for me. And I forgot what my son's daddy said to me, what he said, the words he said, but they were very disrespectful. I can't remember. But anyway, then my son said something to him at like 2.5 years old. And what he said, then his daddy said something, and then to him, and I can't even remember what that was. Because I just kind of blocked it out of my mind, because otherwise I would have snapped, crackled, and popped. Because I was afraid that if I were to fight back, that I would be taken from my son's life forever, which I was anyway. So but it wasn't right away. I still was able to have more time with my son. So by me having to swallow my pride at that point, kept me in my son's life for another 2.5, 3 years. So it prevented the world from abusing my son. So see, in my mind, I had to go through a quick process, and how, like, I had to play it out quickly in my mind. Should I react? Should I protect my son and do something to Joe in that moment that would have put me in jail until the cops figured it out? And who knows if my daddy would have made it to where me and my son's father were out of his life, and he was in an abusive situation to be abused in foster home or adoption like my mom's sons were. See, that's where it was going to go, because my mommy wanted me to suffer like she did and like her kids did, her sons, by her asshole boyfriend. So they made me suffer by being away from my son. Yeah, Story of Life Church. Yeah, I know. I was going to go, but then I got more breakouts, and you delayed my healing process. So you delayed my life again, and I'm getting fucking tired of it. There I go, more distractions. They usually don't do that. It's only to distract me. You see what I'm saying? They like notified me to interfere and interrupt my speech, the information I'm giving y'all, so y'all don't know the facts, or all the facts that led up to why I'm going through what I'm going through. And they're trying to seem like they want you to just see the surface. They don't want you to see the background details, or to know the background details of what. It's kind of like when somebody gets murdered or killed or whatever, and they have to piece together the pieces of what led up to that. But it's too late for the victim, because they're dead. That's what they were hoping would happen to me. They were hoping that the damage would have ended up with me being dead, and nobody would have known the truth, and they could have just annihilated my whole family. But even though God has and then they go and put somebody to resemble my mommy in my path that looks a little bit the same as her, but I don't know. But this person is driving. She has a car. But my mommy doesn't drive, because her so-called, she says her perception, her depth perception, she made it difficult for her to drive. Because she didn't have her thoughts all together. She was not stable in her mind. Anyway, she, by not being stable and with a stable mind, sound mind, it made her make bad choices. And that's where I'm getting at. That's where God's getting with all this. Someone that is double-minded, that is not on the right path for their life, that didn't do their homework, the research and study before they embarked on their life, like my mommy. And she said when she was 19 in school, in high school, in her senior year, she wanted to have a family. No fucking no. Who doesn't? She had a family. She had her father and mother and her brother and sisters. Her brother and sister. And their dog. Their German Shepherd Ginger. And they had a boat. A mediocre boat. A car. Well, they didn't. My grandfather did. Their father. He was a worker. He provided for them. And it killed them, because he had to work extra hard to provide the American dream. Now, see, when he came from Nova Scotia, he didn't realize what it entailed. And he left his Nova Scotia family that had a store Where if he would have stayed in Nova Scotia, God would have set him up if he would have done the right thing. But see, he veered off and went his way and let the flesh lead the way instead of letting God lead him. He let the flesh, and that's where he went wrong, and that's why he ended up killing himself when I was 2.5 years old, because his health declined and deteriorated, because he had to overwork and overwork and overwork and overwork to live the American dream that he went in search of, not knowing the full and complete details of the truth and way to life. And he followed the flesh, and he fucked himself all up, and my family, and they all followed thereafter. Okay, like a domino trickling effect. You know, a downward spiral, domino effect. Anyway, people don't understand. They think that by leaving their home, their land, wherever they're from, or a country, and they think that by leaving that mess, that by leaving and getting somewhere else is gonna be a better. No, it's only gonna be all the more difficult and more complex and complicated, and it's going to take longer, because now you're in a totally different country you don't know anything about or of, and you think it's easier because you see, or you go by hearsay or what you see and hear, when you don't know the facts. That's where yous are all messing up. It's not better over here. We're struggling just like y'all are, and we're probably struggling more than what yous are. But little do you know, we're actually suffering the same, because y'all are following the same system as America has for the past 2,025 years plus and beyond. And it's been wrong. It's been flawed. We're following a system by going with the flow of how things have been going from generation to generation, or within a generation, because there's been like 5 generations within one. Because people are having 2, 3, 4, 5 kids every year. Well, every year they're having a kid. Or some men and some women are having more kids by different men and women. More than one a year. So, what I'm saying is, the problems are multiplying. They're adding up and multiplying, but really, instead of adding and multiplying, they're really subtracting. That's why in algebra, the rules kind of swap and change and reverse a little bit. So you got to apply that to the life and use the mathematics for life. And you'll understand math better. Math isn't just to build and for measurements and whatever, to figure things out. It's mainly to figure life out. But nobody's catching on. Now, I first started talking about what God was doing and how God is trying to reach out to his people, but nobody's paying attention, because they're all going about life their way by following the flesh and letting the flesh lead them right into utter destruction, into complete and utter chaos and destruction, dysfunction, disorder, defect, deficiency. Because you know not what you're doing. Because you're not awake spiritually. And that's what I was talking about. What happened to my son, what my son's daddy did to my son to piss me off and get a reaction out of me, knowing let me explain myself, because they're trying to make it seem like it was okay what my son's daddy did, that turned my son's butt cheeks totally purple and black. I mean black. From his big hand of a 6 foot, 300-pound man on a 2.5-year-old's butt cheeks. And if you would have heard the sound, I cringed. I clenched. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to kill his daddy. Even before that, for the way he was with me and how I knew he was sent by my daddy to interfere with my life and be the angel of darkness. I had no other choice. I didn't want to choose my once possible thought soulmate, because he was also sent to be the same person. Hence the movie Meet Joe Black. Meaning, I didn't even choose to be with Joe, or choose to be with Joe. It kind of was forced upon me. I didn't even want to hook up and connect with Diego, my first boyfriend. Okay? And then, because my mom rejected me and my sister many times after foster home, God went and solved the problem, gave them a bigger apartment, from the Hotel St. George that burnt down, which was meant to take Richie and my mom's firstborn son. I mean, not firstborn, to take their youngest son's life, because Richie and the baby were stuck up on the top of the hotel. This was one of the days, because my brother was only weeks old in 1990. So anyway, he was born in August of 1990. The fire happened either in September or October. They were at the top of the penthouse of the Hotel St. George. Richie said, just as the fireman got to the top of the building, the penthouse with the ladder, the floor beneath Richie caved in. The middle part had already caved in. My sister lost her cat that God put in our path. It was all of our cat, but it was a beautiful kitty too, but it got burnt in the fire. And it lost half its tail anyway, because it was abused, or it got injured somehow before we found it, before it came into our path. But anyway, God provided my mommy and Richie with a 2-bedroom apartment on Pearpoint Street on the east side over the bridge. But my mommy didn't put me and my sister on the lease. She didn't consider us her daughters. She just abused, abandoned, and neglected us and rejected us. What kind of mother is that? Do you think God is going to bless that? No. So what happened? My mommy and Richie rejected me and my sister at the Hotel St. George. What did God do? He set that motherfucker ablaze and almost took Richie's life, because he almost killed my sister. And my first boyfriend was witness to see him almost kill my sister while my mother was working at Stratford Town Fair. Then God gave them a 2-bedroom apartment. They still rejected me and my sister. So what happened? God took that apartment from them. Then, God did it again, because they claimed it wasn't a big enough apartment. And in that apartment, during the time that me and my sister were kind of staying there, where Richie and my mom let us stay there, but Richie was the bad guy. When my mom was at work, he would come home drunk and in a rage and run us out of the house. So what did God do? He went and put Willie, Mano, I forgot the other guys' names. There was like 4 or 5 of them. When me and my sister were out at the payphone, we were doing, either I was doing my sister's hair or my sister was doing my hair. I can't remember, because I was working at Cajun Joe's at the time. And the landlord of the apartment my mom and Richie were staying at was the father of the daughter that used to work for Cajun Joe's. But she moved on because she had gotten a better education and a better job. So I took over that job. Actually, my bad. There was another girl named Elise that took the job. She worked for there a little while, and then I took over. So what happened, and that's why the name of Emily Blunt in the Adjustment Bureau, her name is Elise. I think that's her name. David and Elise, I think that was her name. I gotta go to the bathroom, and I need to drink some water from my ice that melted. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh my god, I'm getting a stomach ache. Oh, I went once already. I went pee twice, or once or twice. Yeah, I went twice. One at Walmart and one in 7-Eleven. I went poopy once already, but I gotta go again. Because I'm eating again. I bought some strawberries. The little $2.03 thing of strawberries. I can't eat them right now. That's gonna have to be for later. Because I wanted to eat my broccoli and potatoes. And I gotta peel my carrots before tomorrow, before it gets hot. And I gotta cook them before tomorrow, or before it gets hot tomorrow. It was hot today. I'm like sweaty, very moist. So now that I'm being hydrated, it's all leaving me, and I'm drinking soda, eating chocolate ice cream. I'm not really even hydrated with water. So anyway, every time God blessed my mom and Richie because they claimed they didn't have enough room, or because they didn't tell the landlord, my mom didn't say she had 2 daughters. Or she didn't think we were going to stay with her. When we left foster home, we didn't leave foster home to be with her. We left because we were made to leave. Like, you know, they made us uncomfortable to make us feel like we were getting the boot. And we didn't want to have to go to another foster home and adjust to another freaking foster home. It's nerve-wracking. It's stressful. And then having to switch school systems, having to switch neighborhoods and friends, and it took its toll. And this is another thing because of the system. Yeah, I see that, Kenny Morrison. Thank you for just coming here online. I'm doing a lot of ranting and raving and narrating of my story to help other people. Because, see, up until now, everybody's been told to keep it all inside. Don't let your past do this or do that or affect your life. But that's a lie. They don't want you to, because they don't want you to figure out the truth. They want people to continuously be on the circle of lies. They want to go whoopsh, whoopsh, and keep you on that circle of lies, that circus, that merry-go-round. And that's what we're doing. Generation after generation, we'll keep repeating and repeating because nobody's solving the equation. Nobody's solving for the X or for the Y, or the A and the B, or the C and the D. And I won't tell you what that stands for, but you can guess. So anyway, with all this being said, the whole point is because of my mommy and daddy choosing not only my daddy not being present in my life. He was behind the scenes playing puppet master, troublemaker, and all he did was make things worse, because he was using me as a sacrifice for his gangster life, and he wasn't playing fair. He wasn't playing to solve the errors and mistakes that both him and my mommy made and other people had made. My mommy, my sister's daddy, my mommy and my brother's daddy. They were all young, deadbeats, stuck in their ways. They were all failing and lacking to know the truth and way to life. So with that being said, my mommy met Richie in a bar because back in the day, they wouldn't rent to a female with 2 kids because they figured the kids would run rampant in the homes. Because in some families, yes, that's what happened. And the landlords would have to get stuck paying for all the repairs for the kids breaking this or breaking that, or the kids taking the heat for the parents, or for the duddy that was living with the mummy on welfare. But they didn't let the landlord knew, or they would hide it, because if the state welfare department found out back in the day that the mom was allowing their father to stay with them, they would be a part of the fraud system of defrauding the welfare system. Because back in the day, you couldn't be on welfare and still live with the baby daddy. Okay, it was one or the other, and you had to report who the baby daddy was so that they could be put on child support. And if they weren't, they were put in jail. So then, to beat the system, the females would say, oh, I don't know who the father is. And God knew they were lying. And that's why a lot of people on the welfare system are cursed, because they're lying to God and they're defrauding God. They're stealing, killing, and destroying from God's kingdom. And that's why God is going to return and take back his land and replace the order of life. And a lot of adults are going to be in trouble. A lot of adults are going to feel the heat, because they have caused the people, the children, to suffer. Hello, whoever's using Michael Tracy's page. But anyway, so we're suffering because of our parents and then our grandparents, because from our grandparents and our great-grandparents and our grandparents, something went wrong. Because back in those days, they believed that the woman should be at home with the kids and the father should work. But that didn't work either, because now the grandfather died from overworking and the grandmother not knowing how to run a home or how to be a housewife or how to cook and take care of the family or whatever. And so my grandfather suffered and his health took a toll. So he killed himself when I was 2.5 years old in 1976. So I think it was in January, sometime in January. It was either January 27th or sometime. I don't know when my grandmother and grandfather's anniversary was. I can't remember when they got married. Cause I remember my mom told me, or my grandmother, but I can't remember the dates. And with all the phones or the papers I wrote it down in, I don't have anymore. So I don't know. So anyway, I gotta breathe. So with all, you know, you got to understand your family history to know why we're going through what we're going through now, or you're not going to solve your equation to understand what's going on. You're going to blame the system. You're going to blame, but you don't know. It is the system. It is partly the system, but it's like a pie. Everybody has a part in the equation. Okay? Sometimes in some people, sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes the mom and dad are wrong. Sometimes the system is wrong. It depends on the situation of each family, on where they went wrong or what errors and mistakes they did. You know how on our test papers or homework papers or assignments or our quizzes, we would get like a 50, 60, 70, 75, 65, 85, 95 grade? That's kind of like how God works, where our mom and dad may be 50-50 wrong, maybe 75-25. It all depends on how wrong they are, like a quarter, 3/4. You know, you got to understand how many errors and mistakes they made, what errors and mistakes. Sometimes an error and mistake could be 100% of the problem, because one mistake could cause so many more. So, and it could take out a whole family. Kind of like snitching, kind of like losing a job. Could affect the family, being that the grandfather or the father did all the work and was bringing in the income. And that's what happened to my grandmother. She was a stay-at-home mom. She went to work at one of the stores back in the day for Christmas time. I can't remember what store it was she worked for, to help with Christmas gifts and stuff. But my grandfather took the majority of the brunt by having to work and try to run a family in the house and all the things that a man's supposed to do. And so it took a toll on his body, because my grandmother did not know how to cook. She knew how to smoke them cigarettes, and she knew how to drink her whiskey. And the same thing with my mom. She knew how to smoke them cigarettes, and she knew how to go to the bar with Richie and get tipsy or hungover or drunk, because her life was falling apart, because she didn't know what she did wrong. She was following what she thought was the American dream, but she was only following the curse, the nightmare, the dream that turned into a nightmare, because she didn't follow the order of instructions like on a recipe. She didn't read the instructions or the directions, and she went about it her way, just like all of you are doing. And now in order to survive, you have to do this wrong. You have to do so many wrong things to survive and keep yourself afloat. Not because of the system, but because you followed what you saw your people do, or what you saw other people do. Kind of like where the slavery, see, I wanted to do this in a whole different way. I'm combining this all. It's way too much information for all of you to handle, because I'm not telling you all the information of all the other things I started telling you. But for our families and how we're operating, we think we're living the right way, but we're not. We think that we're following this example of our mom and dad and everybody else's mom and dad, not knowing we're all just copycatting the wrong answers, the wrong way of life. We're not going about the right order, the right steps. We're not taking the right steps in the order in which we were supposed to. Just like Adam and Eve did in the garden, where when God returned to check and see where they were at in their garden, and when he returned, he didn't find them. They were nowhere to be found because they were hiding, because they partook of each other. And God knew, without even seeing them, what happened. Because that's why he came back to check on them, to see if at that time, if God would have found them doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But see, where God went wrong, or maybe not how God went wrong, but God didn't, or Adam and Eve missed the message. They didn't get the whole message. And they didn't say, oh, well, why? They didn't question, well, why did God say, do this, and do that? But when they came into curiosity, when they saw the animals mating, the animal pornography, you know how that gets people going, they copycatted the animals. And that was the curse that fell upon humanity. Adam and Eve did not finish their steps in their process before they were to be one. They didn't complete their job. God only gave them some of the job to do, and then when God returned, he found them that they had sinned. They had, I don't know what the word sin stands for. I'd have to figure it out, but what it stands for is errors and mistakes in the process of life. When it's like a recipe, if you overcook it, if you undercook it, or if you don't put enough water or put too much, or whatever the case may be, somewhere along the line you messed up in the recipe. That's kind of what happened to Adam and Eve, and the same thing happened to humanity ever since. So if you look at it as an equation, I'll explain it like I like using the long division, a division problem. But you know how the teacher said, write it out. I want to see your work done, the work that you do to get the answer that you got. So so the teacher could say, oh, that's where you messed up, in the middle, halfway, the halfway mark. Like maybe in the second or third, depending on the numbers in the equation. Well, like with Adam and Eve, they messed up in the middle, where they didn't even make it halfway or barely halfway through their lesson, and they partook of each other. So they're only working 50% of their equation, and that's why it's not equaling 100%. So because of them not passing their test and partaking of each other before it was time, just like how in today's time we're not supposed to have sex before we get married, because then it may ruin the marriage, because maybe each other will find out that they're not for each other. Or why get married when we already had sex? We're already together. Why spend all that money on a wedding? Or why have to go and sign papers? Why this, why that, when we're already together? So they don't think the process through. But then when the outcome and result happens and it goes bad, that's when it all, oh, now I know why we were. But see, they don't even get to that point because now they're all caught up in the drama and the chaos and the catastrophe and the commotion and the confusion because they don't know where they went wrong. They don't know why what is happening or happened or whatever. So, and that's because God is missing from the equation. Okay, there's a God of light and there's a God of darkness. There's a God of destruction and there's a God of, or I should say a God of good order, and there's also a God of disorder. Are you with the God of order or are you of the God of disorder? And a lot of people that are gods of disorder are striving, or they're thriving and surviving, but they're doing all the wrong things. And now it's causing all the other people around them, in and all around them, to suffer. And God is not having it because it's destroying his land, his kingdom, and his people. And there's no one left to take care of the land in which God gave us to take care of. And we're failing our test. And that's 99.99999% of you. You don't understand. There's not even maybe a tenth of the percent of people that are passing. Maybe not even that much. That's why I go 99.99999, because it's only like maybe 1,000th of a tenth. Or 100 zillionth of, you know what I'm saying? Like, because the amount of people, the amount of population to the amount that's actually doing it right is only the farmers. And they're not even doing it right because they're slacking. And they're not slacking because they want to. They're slacking because everybody else is. Because they're being overwhelmed with the amount of people they have to supply food to. And nobody is working the right jobs, the conducive jobs. Everybody is trying to take the easy way out. They don't want to work the farms. Oh, it's too hard. Oh, they want to go out and have fun. They want to make that money without having to do all that work. I don't mean to step on any toes or make anybody fall, but this is where God is speaking to everybody, to the majority, to the masses of asses. Because y'all are falling off the bandwagon. You're falling off the carriage. You're not passing the test. You may be passing the worldly test, but that doesn't get you anywhere. Because doing so, you reap a lot of bad things. Because of the type of work that you're doing that is causing a whole lot of other. So it's like now you're taking on all the other curses from all the other people because of the work that you're doing is affecting all them other people. Are you a part of the problem or are you a part of the solution? Now, we could fix it if we say, okay, let's take away the money and make it to where, okay, if you want to be a part of that lifestyle, that singing, that dancing, that concert life, that singing all that kind of them songs, but yet, even if we take away the money and we still get, and we're still paid by having a home, by being able to go out and eat and do all that stuff, we're still going to have the same problems because of the work, the non-conducive works. There's an outcome and result for everything that we do. For every action and reaction, there's an equal and opposite action and reaction for every action and reaction. You follow me? So it's like we have to stop what we're doing. We have to live a different life. We have to put our flesh to sleep. We have to, and there was a siren going by, a cop, 7:28. Anyway, I've been out here for like 3 hours, 4 hours. I gotta go. And then another one. That's representing 7/2008. Get it? Breaking Dawn 2. Oh, and then we got Daniel, the lookalike. Daniel Rosenblatt, that's following me. Because he's a part of the clan. Anyway, he's in disguise. It looks like him, but he's got longer hair. And he's got a hat on. He's trying to disguise himself, but I know who he is. I know it's the Daniel Rosenblatt that used to be down in Coral Springs with me and acting like he was homeless to be on my level to do God's work. But now he's taken on a different disguise. And he doesn't think I know it. But I know it. But anyway. And he just got in my path to let me know he's here and that was meant for me. Anyway. So, I hope this is starting to make sense to all of you. Because it's like, just like school. Okay? We have different levels, different grades. And there's different levels within each grade. Like in Stratford school system that I went to in Connecticut, they had like a level 1, level 2, and level 3 in 7th and 8th grade. And you had different classes. I don't know why they did it that way. I don't know why. I guess I know why, because people made different choices and decisions. They were from different types of families. Some on the low level, some mediocre, because they had like the poor people, then they had the middle class, then they had the rich class. So there was level 1, level 1 was the rich, like the richy rich, the white collar people. Then you got the mediocre, the blue collar. Then you got the red collars, the one that are of the blood, but they don't know it. They're the ones that are suffering because of their own lacking and failing, but also being suppressed by the middle class and the upper class. The lower class, so that's where I'm breaking it down, trying to explain the level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 was up here, level 2 was middle class, level 3 was lower class. So anyway, the level 1s were supposed to be educated and understanding, but they weren't. They were actually a part of the major part of the problem, because they had jobs that were the ones that paid all the money, got paid all the money. But they were a part of the problem, because in order for them to be on the top and to get paid all that money, who had to suffer? Because in order for them to get money and because of the money system, there had to be sick people, or God had to make things happen, make the scenarios happen. So either the attorneys, the judges, the cops, he had to kind of, spark things up a little bit to ignite people so that the other people could do their jobs that they sought the money. They thought the jobs of the money that paid the jobs that paid all that money, they thought were the answer. Okay? That's not the right way to solve the equation of humanity, or the way we were supposed to live among humanity and within. So we're now we've been experiencing the outcome and result for the past 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it may have been. In my existence, my family screwed up when my mom got pregnant for me in her high school senior year, when she was 19 in 1974. So that's where she screwed up. And then it cursed me for 19 years. Actually, my whole 50. But in my adult life, my whole adult life was cursed because of her and my daddy. Then, because of the errors and mistakes I made, because of their errors and mistakes, and the ones I made were not of my own doing. It was from their errors and mistakes that trickled down into my life, which happened because God had to punish them by punishing me and my siblings, and by making things happen because of what they did caused me and my sister to trickle, and all the shit just kept trickling down to us. Then it affected my son, where I've been out of his life for the past 20 years. Because when did I mess up? I didn't mess up when I was 20. I messed up when I was molested at 7 to 10 years old, 7 to 10 and a half years old. Then, because when my child molester were molesting me and my sister, my child molester would go down on us. And then he kind of put my sister in a position to do it to me. And my sister knew it was wrong. I kind of knew it was wrong, but being that he was doing it to me longer, I kind of got not used to it, but I kind of settled for it because I was in between right and wrong. I was like, okay, I know it was wrong because it shouldn't be happening to me and my sister because he threatened me. Okay, my sister, I don't think she was only 5-6 years old. He more so threatened me. Actually, my sister too, because he showed us both the knife. Because he used to carry a knife in his knife pocket that he attached to his belt all the time because he used to go dumpster diving for cans and bottles for beers and whatnot, and cans of beers and bottles to turn in at the A&P down on Boston Avenue near the American Steakhouse in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And he'd carry us with him in the carriages because he used to take us in his apartments to help him clean out the cans and bottles because they didn't take the cans and bottles when they were dirty. You had to clean them up. But a lot of the people that went through the garbages were homeless or on the low scale of money and not able to survive, so they had to go dumpster diving or garbage diving. And they used to have the can and bottle section in the machines in the grocery stores, but it was becoming unclean, unsanitary to be in the same part of a store where food was sold. It would attract all kinds of bugs, rats, and whatever, so they stopped doing that. I don't know what they have now up there because they may still have it, but it might be kept cleaner, and a lot of the bums are not able to do that no more. So a lot of people are saving their own cans and bottles and keeping them clean, and they change them in at the end of the month or every week. So anyway, tired. So anyway, my sister was angry with me because of that incident. That incident happened when I was when I was 10. It was just before, I don't know, it was just before my mom was beat up severely by Richie. I think it was before the Christmas of 1984. Because I think my mom got beat up in 1985 by Richie when she took my sister to see her father in jail around the corner because the jail was right around the corner from our apartment at that time. And my mom also did a favor for the inmates inside by keeping marijuana or some kind of drug or something in a packet, so when they kissed, when they still allowed kissing to go on, she transferred something by kissing to them, and that's how they got the drugs inside the jail. And then they started to put the glass separation and the phones, and they couldn't traffic the drugs inside anymore. Then they had to do it through the guards, or they had to do it through they got to hug or something, and they somehow did it that way. But then they would get caught because they did the body checks. After each visit, they had to do body checks, and they got caught, and they added more time. And so my mom did that, and when Richie found out, he got jealous because he knew he was possibly going to lose his free ride in life. So he had to beat the shit out of my mommy to manipulate her and scare her into staying with him. And while he was beating the shit out of her, kicking her, and in the metal typewriter, that old-fashioned metal typewriter, he was beating the shit out of her with it over her head. And she was bleeding profusely. And I remember, like, Ma, I'm like crying, and I'm like, Mommy, and doing that as I'm 10 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, sure, what do I do? And we didn't have a phone at the time because it got cut off. The landlords weren't home because it happened during the day. They were at work or something, or out or whatever. Then I ran outside screaming and yelling, and the neighbor was a Hispanic woman. She didn't know, like, remember the movie? The movie in the Goonies movie where the woman didn't know how to speak Spanish or English, and the cute kid, I forgot his name. In real life, I can't. Brian Austin. I think it was Brian. No, it was I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. I used to. Anyway. that was the scene that played out in my life, but it wasn't in the same way that it happened there in the movie. In real life, in my life, the Spanish woman came outside as she was leaving for work, and she didn't speak English, supposedly. So when I was crying and screaming, trying to explain to her about my mom being hurt, and I told her 911, 911, 911, phone, and she went inside and got her landline phone and called 911 for me, and they came and got Richie, and I said, you have to come undercover, because every time you come and he gets away. So they caught him, he did some time, and while me and my mom and my sister went, and my mom's firstborn son went to a shelter in Waterbury, my mom's food stamps were stolen before that, because one of the nights that Richie was trying to kill her by chasing her around with a car and trying to run her over in the Chase parking lot on Main Street and North Avenue and Tom Thumb Street. It was like kind of a U shape. There was North Avenue, then you had a parking lot, you had the Chase Bank, there was a big empty parking lot. They made it into a Walgreens now. And there's a Walgreens, and the Chase Bank is still there. But there used to be the Chase Bank, and then there was a big empty parking lot with parking stumps and spaces. And then my mom's house, or her apartment that they lived in at that time. Oh no, that they lived in later, a few years later, on North Avenue. But at this time, I'm talking about Tom Thumb Street, which was on the other side of the parking lot. So during this incident, my mom was living on Tom Thumb Street on the corner in the White House, on the corner of Tom Thumb and Sedgwick, and on the second floor. And this night that my mom was drunk, a little tipsy, and Richie was drunk and tipsy like always, and he was made to ruin my mom. This was a part of the curse because of my uncle snitching on the mob, so on his boss. So this trickled down into my mom's life and her kids' life, and then it trickled into my life and my sister's life, and then her son's life. But she didn't catch on. So when Richie's beating the shit out of her, she's accepting. Oh, it's okay. It's like she was saying it's okay that she wants to die because she wants to escape her reality, because she couldn't figure it out. She didn't know how to deal with it, and she was just accepting that she was being killed, and that's what was happening. But because of me and my sister still caring about her and loving her and not letting her go, our lives became cursed. So when anyway, this night that Richie was chasing her, this happened before he beat the shit out of her, I believe. I don't think it was the same night. No, it wasn't. So my mom went into somebody's house, and I don't want to say no names, and to have them either make sure she was safe or to escape what Richie was doing to her, because her ankle got injured. And her food stamps were stolen in the process. Either Richie took them, most of the time Richie stole them to turn them in for cash to go drinking. But I don't know who stole them, where she lost them, I don't know. But anyway, when we went into, then, yeah, it wasn't the same night, but I think it happened the same weekend. So after this incident, then the next day or something or other, Richie beat the shit out of her in the house. And that afternoon, that evening, we went to the hospital because she needed care with her wrist. That was, there was a bug. Her wrist was all cut up in a U shape from pushing through the glass to open up the door. And I'll show you the picture of the apartment I'm talking about, because she was sitting on the couch holding my brother, her firstborn son, that is now in the Army for 20 years. I don't know if he's still in the Army or if he retired or not. I don't know. But when we went to the shelter in Waterbury, Okay, because after this, we lost the apartment because we couldn't stay there because she didn't have the rent money. She didn't have any food stamps to feed us. Me and my sister did not want to leave to foster home or be taken away because they were going to take us away. And I would have left my mom with nowhere to go. Whatever. She didn't understand. I don't know what was going through her head. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know if she sold us out. And it was, I don't know what was going in through her head. But anyway. So we went to a shelter in Waterbury, Connecticut. My mom didn't know the area. She didn't have any money, no food stamps. And the shelter that we were in was a nice house. It was a normal house. It was like a 2-story home, but it was empty. We were the only ones there. There was no food in the cabinets. It was empty. And they put us in this place with no food stamps. So my mom didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to open up her mouth and ask and say, look, during this process, my food stamps got stolen or taken or whatever. And her mind was just so messed up. And I'm thinking all this to myself, like, why do I have to do all the things? I'm a 10-and-a-half-year-old child. Why do I have to do all this thing? She's asking me, well, what do we do? And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I don't want to go back to Richie. I don't want to go back to Richie. But I said to my mom, I said, well, why can't God provide? You know, and that was like the first time I ever said God in my life. Because I knew in my heart and mind that there was a God. But I never spoke to God, or I never mentioned it. I never thought, because I thought it was a universal thing. I thought people knew. I didn't think I was the only one that knew. I figured we were all human beings. We all must know there's a God. Because we didn't create the world. We didn't create the earth. And it's like they were trying to test me to not give me any more information so I could figure it out on my own. I had it all figured out already. I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is wrong with my mom? What the fuck is wrong with this world? Why are things going the way they're going? So, or the way they were going and the way they're still going. And they're still fucked up. In all of your people's lives, all of your lives. It's a shame that what your kids have to go through and for them to settle and accept for what you are giving them as an example for life. These are pathetic. These are all pathetic. Things are going to change. There's not going to be any more drugs. There's not going to be any more smoking and drinking and drugging and sexing and partying. Them days are coming to an end. So y'all better tighten your ships up. No more loosey lips. Getting down there and up here. No more sucking your dicks. There ain't gonna be no more of that. God's gonna tighten all that shit up. Meaning there won't be no more, what do you call it? I can't remember the name. There won't be any more sin. God is gonna clean his kingdom up from all the sins. Okay? So if you don't change your ways, God's going to change you or remove you. So you better get with God's program now while you still have time before the big boom. I don't think I'm the only one, unless I am the only one that's been known, because I'm the only one born of the Holy Spirit that has remained with the Spirit. That my daddy and his people and everybody else thought I didn't know any better. They think I'm some stupid dum-dum like my mommy and the rest of you dick suckers and cock suckers and pussy suckers. Y'all better chill out. The games are up. The kingdom of the devil's kingdom is going to fall. It's going to be cast away into the fiery lake. It's going to be caged for the next 1,000 or plus years, however it remains caged, until it is reopened again, until that Pandora box is reopened again. Okay? Depending on when the generations mess up, depending on how long God's kingdom stands before the generations fuck up again. And then it's going to go through the process all over again. Because the devil is sneaky. Okay, even when God's kingdom comes to fruition, there's gonna still be devils in there. Okay, and they're still gonna try to raise the devil's kingdom again. So people got to be alert and aware, and remain steadfast to God's word and to God's kingdom, so they can't get detoured and say, oh, come on, because that's what they do to try to divide and separate my son from me, because now the world is trying to divide me and my son, so I don't have control over my son and what he is going to go through, because the devil's kingdom is trying to get more, to pull more people in. So he's going to try to steal and kill and destroy from my son that God is raising me up. Okay, and then I'm going to have to live out the rest of my life seeing my son suffer because God allowed the devil to steal, kill, and destroy and affect my life. But I'm hoping that God is not going to allow that happen, because I have prayed. I have put my prayer time in. I may not be praying directly about, for my son or to God about my son or me, but I'm hoping that by me doing God's work is enough to keep the devil's works away from my son. So it's killing me inside. My heart is like so clenched. My chest is so clenched, so tense, because my son is away from me and I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what the devil's kingdom is doing to my son. But I'm hoping and praying inside internally, and I'm hoping God is still covering my son under the blood of Jesus from the work that I'm doing of God's kingdom. Because if not, the shit's going to hit the fan. The shit's going to hit the fan. If anything is wrong with my son, which it already is. It already is. But if God doesn't fix the shit that the devil has done to my son already, like being the boss of my son's father and his ex-boss, that shit better get fixed quick. That shit better get cut the fuck off. Because my son, I do not want my son employing his father or his father's ex-boss. So that shit better get squashed real quick before I do it. Because if I find out God is continuing that, forget me doing God's work. I'ma fuck the shit out of the devil's kingdom is what I'm gonna do. Forget God. I will fucking do what needs to be done. If God ain't gonna set the record straight and get rid of the bullshit, I will. If God betrays me and deceives me and lies to me but deceives and betrays me again, oh, the shit's gonna hit the fan for all of God's kingdom. Because I will become the devil and they'll have to fuck with me. And I will fuck back. So y'all go ahead and play your little games. If God does not cover my son under the blood of Jesus after all the shit I'm going through and what I'm doing, and if he continues to allow the devil to just steal, kill, and destroy my son and me and our bond that's been severed because of the devil, the shit's gonna hit the fucking fan. And I will fucking make sure this whole kingdom falls to the ground. I will make sure both kingdoms fall to the ground. Nobody will survive. So I'm going to stay low and find out to see where God is at with me in this walk and what is going on. Because I will fuck the shit out of both kingdoms. And God knows how I'm going to do it. And it will prevail and prosper. Because he's a part of the devil's works. God is also the devil. He will allow that to happen because he loves destruction. And sometimes bad has to happen to bring forth the good. To level the bad kingdom. To level it so that the good can rise. And it has to happen by the bad. So he'll let it happen. So I already know what's going to go down and how it's going to go down. If things don't go the right way. So it could go the wrong way. Okay, how do I say this? The good thing can happen either the good way or the bad way. But the bad way, there's going to be many more lives lost. Many, thousands, hundreds of thousands, tens, hundreds, million, trillion thousands. But the good way, many will survive until the bad happens, depending on when that, because it's bound to happen. Because the devil will sneak his way, that snake is going to sneak his way back into the new kingdom. No doubt, that's how it happens. But it's up to the people to stay alert and aware of the devil and his games and his tactics and his strategies, so they don't fall into the traps and snares that the devil is known for. Because then it'll start all over again. And then the kingdom will fuck itself again and again and again. Until it gets to whatever it ends up getting to, if it doesn't get nuked. If the world doesn't get into a nuclear war where everything will be wiped out and zapped off. So anyway, the other things I wanted to talk about I didn't finish. When I was being molested by my child molester and my sister, and my mom and Richie went out to the movies and left us home with our child molester, and he had me and my sister in their bed doing the things he did to us. And that night, after he did what he did and what happened between me and my sister, made me and my sister's relationship kind of severed, because now she became angry with me, and she didn't understand that she was only 6 years old. She didn't, or no, at that time she was about 7, because this was towards the end of our time that we were molested, and when we got taken away and went into foster home. But then that severed our relationship as sisters, and it caused a lot of bad things between us, because she was angry at me, but she didn't understand what was at risk, what was at, I can't remember the word, because the child molester threatened that if we said something, we would never see our mother again. So even though we didn't say anything, or I didn't say anything, we still didn't see our mother again, because we got taken away in a foster home several years later, or just after the last time we were molested. So anyway, when we went to foster home, and my sister had told the social worker about it, and I kind of denied, because my sister didn't understand. Our mom was living with the child molester in his apartment, and she was helping them. She was working at Stratford Town Fair, living with the child molester in his apartment on Claremont Street. I don't know if that's in Bridgeport or Connecticut, or Stratford, Bridgeport or Stratford. But anyway, her, Richie, and the child molester were living together and helping, and Richie wasn't working. He was spending the rest of my mom's money that she couldn't save to get herself an apartment. So she didn't know how to break away from Richie, because her family destroyed her. Her family didn't destroy her. The devil did. The devil destroyed our family through my grandfather. Then by him killing himself, destroyed my grandmother and the family, because they all divided and separated, because my grandmother couldn't take care of the family. My uncle got killed from the mob, because he got into the mob to survive. Then my aunt went her way. She did the best out of all of them, because she was the oldest, and she had help from other friends of the family, or she had a boyfriend or a husband that she married to help get herself through school. And then actually that's what happened. She got married and before my grandfather killed himself. So that's how she was able to make it through school and business school and whatnot. And that's how she became kind of like a legal secretary, and she's been working for attorneys and getting paid a pretty good salary. But she doesn't know how to manage her spending. She buys a lot of Barbie dolls, because she never really had, I guess, the best childhood, because the money was tight. So she didn't have a childhood like everybody else did, of the richy rich class. So anyway, because the mindset, because the children are ruined when they think that, because they didn't get the good toys or the nice toys or the Barbie dolls or this or the nice clothes, it traumatizes them, because they're taught that if they don't get the good things and this, that it traumatizes them. So it it's like it causes mistakes in their lives, and it causes them to misplace or to misspend their money because they spend it foolishly on this and that and this and that. And my aunt was a collector of Barbie dolls in her adult life, and she didn't have the money for that. Okay, so all her life she's collecting Barbie dolls and clothing, and then plus she had she was a spender. You know, she got paid and she spent money. She spent her money. And then she had to help her mother. She had to help my mother. She took care of me a little bit as her daughter because she had sons. She wanted a daughter, but she got all sons. So anyway, then this affected my mother and my aunt. Then it affected, because my mother went and had kids. She didn't graduate high school. She didn't have a job. She didn't have the... So my aunt was jealous of my mother for having daughters. My mother was jealous of my aunt because she had a husband, several husbands. She had her sons, and she could take care of herself. She could go out and buy what she wanted. She would often go out and buy the things my mom wanted to make her jealous. And then they fought about stupid shit. And then it was catastrophe. It was a nightmare, believe me. And that's what's going on between all of the races right now. It's like we're all distant cousins, but we're all jealous of one another. And everybody wants what everybody has, but they don't want to put the work and effort forward. Or what's going on is they're working, but they're working the non-conducive works, the jobs of iniquity, and it's not panning out. And the outcome and result is not, they're not getting the right outcome and result that they want. And so it's stressing everybody out. It's taking a toll on everybody. So I don't know, my phone is less than 20%. I gotta go. It's getting late. I don't know what to do. I've been sitting here for 5 hours already. I gotta go. I gotta finish eating my potato. I might have to go and get another soda so I could drink and burp and make room for the rest of my food. Then I gotta eat my strawberries. I gotta rinse them off and cut them up and put a little bit of sugar on them to make them sweet so when I eat them. But see, I had ice cream today, so that took care of my sugar level. Plus I had soda. Now I gotta get another soda and spend another $1, because now it's $1, not 89 cents. So now I gotta spend another 11 cents. 89 would have been 94 cents, which 89 was when I was 14 going on 15, and I had my first boyfriend, and my one stop possible soulmate is jealous because it wasn't him. So 89 to $1 is 11 cents. That equals 1 plus 1 and 2. That means me and my stalker, my one stop possible soulmate. Now $1 equals out to $1.06 or $1.07. $1.07, $1.08. Because it's like 7 or 7.5%. So anyway, that equals to 17 years old when I met my stalker back in my senior year of high school before I turned 18, or just after I turned 18. When his brother Misha brought him to school to check me out. One day it was kind of raining. It was it was overcast and kind of chilly, and I was wearing a hoodie and a t-shirt underneath, like a hoodie sweater with a zipper, and then a white t-shirt underneath and a short sleeve. Then I had a light turquoise skirt because all my other clothes were dirty, and that was payday, and I had to walk to work after school to get my check to take the bus home to wash my clothes so I could go to work with clean clothes. Even though I think I hand washed my shirt, and I had to wear a dirty I didn't have time to wash my clothes. Because where I was living at the time, the laundromat was near the rental office, and I didn't have my rental money, and I didn't want to see the assistant manager or the manager, because he didn't want to rent to me anyway because I was under 18 at the time. But I had certain people, because when I was in the rental office with my mommy, there was a phone call, and that phone call was from God telling him it's okay to... See, God didn't know that. I'm just telling that now. So, yes, I knew. I knew. And the rental agency person, his name was Marty. And he didn't want to deal with it because he didn't want to get involved in that kind of business. But they forced him. So anyway. Now you know I know the truth. I knew back then. I wasn't stupid. I knew back then. Anyway. So, my mommy knew what was going on, but she continued to let it go on. She didn't know how to deal with everything that was going on. She didn't know why things were going the way they were, because my uncle had snitched on his boss. So that further added to the generational curses upon my family, on top of the educational errors and the choices and decisions of the flesh. Anyway, but even though I knew that what I knew, it wasn't good, because I knew that what was going on wasn't a good thing. Yous were playing with my life and messing with my life and making it go all wrong. I knew yous were behind it, but yous were allowing it to go wrong. It wasn't supposed to happen. I shouldn't have had to been 16, 17 years old on my own. I'm getting dizzy because my oxygen, because I'm not breathing right. My chest hurts, my arms hurt, lightheaded. I'm so close to having a stroke or a heart attack, and that's what they're waiting for. So they could just run off, and if I have a stroke or a heart attack, they can kill me off and take off and do things without me and fuck the rest of my life up and my family up and my son. So anyway, there's a lot going on. So anyway, my sister didn't know what I knew. She didn't know the family history. She didn't know the background of everything I knew, because I was older, 2.5 years older, and I had understood a lot more than what she did. She didn't know what was going on until she got older. And when she found out about the truth about, and I don't even know if she ever really found out the truth until maybe when she had kids. I don't think she knew the truth about how our uncles died. I don't even know when she knew the truth. So I don't even know. I don't know when she knew the truth about how her uncle and my uncle and why everything was happening, all the bad things that were happening and why they were happening. So anyway, to us and our family. So that's her story to tell when it's her time. For me, it might not even ever be her time to tell, because I don't think God's going to use her in that way, because she doesn't have the understanding that I have. God is just using her to hurt me, because I think other than my mommy doesn't even know the full truth. She knows some, but she might know the whole truth. Because when I took her to Westgate Tabernacle, because I wanted her to hear the preacher, but they didn't allow the preacher to preach that I wanted her to hear, and it was for a reason. They didn't want her to hear, because they didn't want her to hear the whole truth. So they fooled her some of the way. They led her blindly without her knowing the full truth. So she thought she was in control. She thought she was following the right way. She thought the right thing was going to happen by doing what she did, not knowing that the outcome and result was going to be bad for both her and all her children. I don't think she understood what she was doing. But then again, she might have, because she made mistakes when she was 19, when she got pregnant for me, and in order to save her life, she had to sacrifice me, my sister, and her children, her sons, as a sacrifice for her to continue to live. You see what I'm saying? There's a cost. For all the errors and mistakes that we do, that our family does, there's a cost and consequence that goes with it. And it's not only the person that pays the cost and consequences, but it's the adults sell their children as a sacrifice for us to pay the costs and consequences. And then things happen because we have to pay the costs and consequences, and the costs and consequences are bad. So when bad things happen, what happens? More bad things happen. So in our lives, the bad things that my mom did and our daddies did affected them, and then it affected us. We had to pay the costs and consequences, me and my sister and my siblings. Now, during the time that we had to pay the costs and consequences of our mom and dad, now to pay for our mistakes and errors that were made because of us being sold off as a sacrifice for our mom and dad's mistakes. Now our children have to pay for our costs and consequence, or not really, because I'm hoping that my son that he has not had to experience pain and suffering to a level like my sister's kids or my brother and sister have. I'm hoping God has spared his life to not have to suffer as I have, or my nephews, or my brothers, or how my sister had to suffer. I'm hoping that for me paying the costs and consequences as I have had to, I hope it's avoided and prevented my son from having to suffer, or to having to experience in pain and suffering to a level I don't want him to have to suffer. So I haven't found out the truth as to how my son has suffered throughout this process, because I haven't been able to communicate with him on that level, because he has been told not to tell me anything. He has been told that if he says something, that something bad will happen. So that's how they're silencing him to have to deal with what he has to deal with. So I'm hurting because he's hurting, and knowing that I know he's hurting and I know what he's going through, but I don't know to the extent of how he has been affected by all of this. I'm hoping he has not been affected or impacted on the level that my sister, my brothers, and my sister's kids have had to suffer. Because if I find out, God and the devil's kingdom, just wait to see what comes out in the truth from here on in. So anyway, I gotta wash my face, and I gotta go to the bathroom, and I gotta clean my face. I don't know if I'm gonna take a shower tonight. I probably won't, because this still hurts. I have to wait another day, but I have to go to the bathroom again. I have to get another soda because I'm dehydrated. Even though I have ice water, I still need another cup of soda because I'm thirsty. I'm dehydrated. So everything that I sweated out already throughout today. And I haven't been drinking a lot of liquids because I didn't drink a whole can of soda. I didn't drink a whole cup of soda, or I didn't drink any of my water. I drank some of my tea, but not all of it. And I sweated it all out, so my body is dehydrated. And I can see my veins through my arms. They're so dark. They're so there. So it's because I'm dehydrated, and and I'm deficient in so much of my nutrition. So anyway, I've been here for several hours. I got to get going. But God's giving me his grace because I'm speaking on things that he wants me to speak about to help bring understanding to the world of what they don't understand, but they think that they're going to advance in doing the wrong things. No, you're not going to advance doing the wrong things. Because what's happening is by you doing the wrong things to me and to my people and to other people and to your children, it's like one stone is causing many ripple effects. One stone is causing many ripple effects. It's taken out generations of each ripple is a generation. It's taken effect on every generation, every ripple. One stone, it's like one stone killing 10 generations off. It may not happen right away, but it happens slowly and painfully. So, it's like They're experiencing life, but painfully. And with a lot of bad things. They're not experiencing life as it was meant and supposed to be because of the curses upon humanity, because they've gone about living life incorrectly, improperly, and by sin, by way of the flesh. And until we are sanctified and cleansed of the blood of Jesus, and it doesn't happen just by saying you're saved, just by saying you believe in Jesus. No, honey. That walk is not easy, okay? The only way you can be saved by Jesus is if you do not sin. But see, many of you don't understand when you claim you're saved, you are not saved. You're saved only by the level in which you think you are, but you're not. Because he'll save you while you're still sinning, but you're still going to pay the costs and consequences. And you just won't suffer as much, because now once you say you're saved or that you're covered by the blood, he will test you. But according to how you pass them tests will depend on your amount of suffering. And it will take away or it would add to your life. Or it will affect your children. So you could continue on in your sin and think you're saved, but you know who pays? You can continue living in sin, and God will let you continue to live in sin. And you can still smoke, drink, drug, sex, and party, and he'll cover you through that. But you know what? By you still remaining in your sin and claiming to be saved by the blood of Jesus, you know who's going to pay the costs and consequences? You know why your kids are drug dealers, or why they're getting sick or shot or killed, or why they're losing their kids or their jobs or their girlfriends or this, or why things are going, because you are making them happen. Because God is saving you by causing your children to suffer. So, because your mom and dad are still alive, you're paying the cost for your mom and dad's errors and mistakes. That's why a lot of kids now are taking it out on their parents, because it's their parents' fault. And not only that, but by their parents not being parents, and they're allowing the devil's kingdom to be the parent of the children. And when the kids get caught up in the devil's kingdom, the parents ain't got a chance in hell to go back and try to take back their status as mom and dad. You cannot do, once your kids are under the curse of the devil's kingdom, there's no stopping it. The only one that can stop it is God. And you know how that happens? It makes God have to do something bad to stop your kids in their tracks. And you know what that means? Car accidents. It makes God have to cause accidents to happen or cause bad things to happen to get them to say, knock, knock, yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo. You're doing something wrong. Hello. And that's God trying to get your children's attention. But it's also God causing your children to take on your costs and consequences. Y'all don't understand this. And then you turn to black magic or witchcraft or sorcery or voodoo. And you think that's going to save you. That only curses you more. That only curses the kingdom more. That only curses your kids all the more. With that said, I'm going. I got to go get another soda. I got to go get some more poison in the soda. I got to eat the rest of my cold broccoli and cold potatoes. And then I either got to wash my face with some bleach and Dawn soap, and then shave my face because the hairs are growing back. It's been a week now. I haven't shaved because my skin was broken out, and this still isn't healed. This one and then this one just started yesterday or the day before, but it's not as bad as this because I put medicine on it. But if I don't put bleach on it because it's bacteria, this ointment isn't going to kill it. I got to wash my face and keep it clean. I got to use bleach. Soap isn't going to kill it. Bleach is the only thing that kills the bacteria on my face and on my body. So I've got to go. I got to go in and get another soda. I'm going to have to go in to take another shower tonight because I got to charge my phone. Because I'm not going to depend on my car again to charge my phone. Because it's draining my car battery. Because I don't drive. I'm driving only 4 to 6, 7, 8 miles a day. And it's mainly only 2 to 4 miles. Because, except for tonight, I don't know. I don't know what gym I'm going to go to. If I go to the one over here or if I go down to the other one. I don't know yet. Because I don't need to go down the other way. Because I'm not going to church. Because I already missed church. And I haven't watched church because I've been on the phone, because I've been in the spirit, and I didn't want to listen to the church service because it pisses me off, because they're saying one thing to drag me to church, and then when I get to church, they turn on me and say something different, and it pisses me off. But then, now, that was only to act out how my family treated me. My family was trying to act like they helped me, but they didn't. They said they helped me, but they only helped to hurt me, to keep me down. All these years, they didn't help me. They only hurt me. And they were trying to tell my son that, oh, we were trying to help her, but they made him believe I was them. So they portrayed me as them. Okay, they're the ones that didn't help me. They used me. They took advantage of the car that my son helped me to get. I couldn't go take showers at the gym and use my gym membership because of my face being so bad back then. Okay, and now Facebook is trying to delete all my videos with that proof. So now I have no more proof of my past. And so now my son wasn't following me back then. He didn't see my videos that I know of all the times of the situation of what they were doing to me, of my family not letting me shower, not letting me take care of myself. I couldn't go to the gym because when I was staying with them, they made me infested with lice and scabies, bed bugs, fleas. And then they would poison my food. They wouldn't let me go poop or use the bathroom. They locked me out of the house. They poisoned my macaroni and cheese as I was walking to the library after I just took a shower and put clean clothes on. I shit my pants on the way to the library. I had to walk back, and I had to take another shower and clean myself up and da-da-da. And that's when Richie did that to me. And that's when he got cursed. Because when God saw, when Richie did that under God's eye, oh, no. You done did fucked up. Okay, I used to help Richie. I used to help my mom with money when I worked back in the day. I felt bad for my mom because Richie kept spending all her money. So I hired Richie and my child molester to paint my apartment when I was working at Cablevision. Instead of paying Joe back, I paid Richie and the child molester, and Richie took most of the money and made him do all the work. Because Richie would manipulate him. So Richie went and spent the money I gave him, that I gave to him and the child molester, and he only gave the child molester like $25. And Richie took like the $100 and went and spent it or took it out at the bar. And my mom would never have enough money to pay her rent, even on welfare, with food stamps, and working at Caldor. He would bleed her dry of everything. She left owing that landlord like $3,000 and the bills. But God kept them on for me to stay there when Richie and my mom used my sister for her lawsuit money after getting hit by a car. They used her for all her money. And then my sister got hooked up on drugs from her cousin. And then because of the curse upon us, they made her get pregnant by her cousin. Because they cursed me and they took the hate and the vengeance out on me. Well, God said, okay, you want to play? So it's like it boomeranged off of me onto them. But I also suffered, and so did they. But they didn't understand. They were mad because my mom was mad at me, blaming me for her losing her kids. My sister was mad at me, blaming me for everything, and not blaming my mother. That was the real problem. And my mom made my siblings believe it was my fault because we went to foster home, but she was trying to confuse my sister because my sister didn't know the whole truth. She was trying to, make my sister put the blame on me, which she did. So that caused me and my sister to be divided and separated. And so now I'm fighting against my mother, my sister, my daddy, my brothers, my cousin, my aunt, my stalker, and all the other people that were put behind the scenes to make my family suffer because my uncle snitched on the mob. Then I snitched on my daddy. So you see how one thing after another, it just it's a ripple effect after effect after effect, and it's taken out so many generations and even people that have been in, but it's a mess. Anyway, good night, goodbye, good riddance. I'm going. Mike Sweeney, yeah. Okay, that's another story. Yeah, that's a part of my uncle's past. Hasta la vista, babies. Goodbye.